Happy Sunday, traders. It's time for the Sunday setup video with me, Clayton Allen, host of the Day Trading Plumber podcast and founder here at Allen FX. So if you're new to this channel, go ahead and hit subscribe now. Hit the alert button so you catch these videos every Sunday and all my trade ideas all week. So on Sundays, we go through the daily charts of the 28 currency pairs we trade here at Allen FX, and we plot the support and resistance areas we want to be concerned when price gets in those areas, because during the week I'm trading on smaller time frames and oftentimes bounce back out to the daily once in a while. But if price veers into one of those zones, I'm going to want to know about it, and it will show up on the background of those smaller time frames. All right, let's not waste any more of your time. If you're looking at learning some of my ways of viewing the markets, jump on over to allenfx.com. I got a link in the notes below. Check out the courses. Check out the Journeyman Signal Service. It's a lot more than just a signal service. It's an hour-long training every Thursday night. Ask Me Anything event. It's heating up in there. We're trying new strategies. I got a lot of good intraday stuff that I'm trying out that looks really promising here in the first 3 weeks. Yeah, it's just a great community of us chatting every day and pushing each other to be better traders. And you get all of my signals. So when I take a trade, you can see the levels I got in exactly. And then I put a little video of why I got in it. So it's a really good channel for people who are just starting out with trading, or people who have been experienced traders and just haven't found their way, or have, and they just want to be part of a community. So jump on into the Journeyman Signal Service. If you want training each week, you want my signals, and you want a support group. Guys, it's only $20 a month, okay? At least for now. All right, enough of that, enough plugs. Let's go to the charts. All right, if you haven't noticed by now, I do use TradingView. I'll put the link in the show notes below. It's free. Don't feel obligated that you need to, pay. When you pay, they let you do intraday charts on replay. You can add as many of these indicators, or like 90 of them if you want, but who does that? And all that fun stuff. All right, so a couple changes this week with my indicators. Okay. Pivot, I use the standard pivots, but the Fibonacci setting, I only go 15 bars back. It doesn't matter. It just keeps your chart, cleaner if you go all the way back. But I have added all the fib levels, the S1, S2, S3, and I've colored them to coincide with, the levels. That's the only difference. Now, here on the daily, I'm not too concerned, and these are monthly pivots, by the way. What I'm going to start doing here is I'm not going to use monthly pivots. I'm going to use yearly pivots on my daily chart. See that? Now you can see the beginning of the year to the end of the year. This is a little bit more going to fit better because you can see on the daily charts, we're really respecting it. We hit R2 on the yearly pivot. And normally on R2, and we see a trend line break, that's our move. Okay? And you can see we found a little bit of support. We're starting to break it right here. So what we want to do is get this big perspective. And we're retesting this former high. So these yearly pivots are helping see it a little bit better. It's a little less noise right in your face. So this is we're at a very key point, right? We are on a big picture. We're testing this former high. We almost look like a double bottom right now. But if we break below that, this yearly pivot is a awesome choice. So here's what I'm going to start doing. This is going to be it's going to be huge. It's going to be my bullish. that is going to be the bullish zone that I put on my daily, even though it's going to be pretty far down there, right? And we probably should see, this is an inflection zone we want to pay attention to. And you can see we kind of head and shoulders. Here's the shoulder. So I am going to make that my bearish zone. So it's going to take a little bit longer today because we're doing things a little different. And I'm going to go from the body to the top of the wicks. Down here, it's just the pivot, right? So we could probably shrink this pretty tight. Bam. Happens to be the 200 EMA as well. So that's what I'm going to do this week is on the daily chart, I'm going to use this pivot as, this line right here is my make or break line. Because we're testing this, we're testing that, and man, we got some downside potential here. Let's make that the make or break line. Kind of like see those wicks? Bam. So we're pretty much breaking through it right now, guys. Okay? So this is going to give me that top-down reference that I want on Sunday for my swing trades, and in my intraday trades, these are going to be probably off the screen unless we're in one. And, we just want to, as we're so focused on that 15-minute and 3-minute, we just want to know if we veer into one of these. So right here, we're either going to bounce really hard to go up, and we're going to break through that level. We got some downside potential. All right, that's Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. So I'm going to turn these red if they're in one of the zones, just for reference. All right, so let's just start all over. I'm going to get rid of these zones. I'm going to zoom out so we get a little bit better reference. Okay, and these are yearly pivots. So let's just see what Australian dollar Swiss franc. Man, we got way down in S3, way down here. Okay, and we've come back to the S1 yearly pivot and have just barely stalled out. Okay, so this one, obviously, man, it almost looks like quite a consolidation phase going on here, right on S1, right above that 200 EMA. So this one's going to require us. I'm going to want to see if we go bearish here. It's a pretty big zone. And guys, just so you know, I typically try to draw these bottom lines on the body and then the wick. So this is how big this bearish zone is. And this is going to be our make or break. This one's going to be pretty sloppy, right? I mean, this is a decent, basically it's the 200 EMA. I don't necessarily think I need that in there. If we break below that, that's the yearly 618 pivot. And, as far as being bullish, this is the COVID nightmare. So I'm just going to throw my bullish line right here on this yearly pivot. I'm going to want to see what happens there. It's form of resistance. This, if it drops below, this would be our next obvious target. All right, there's Australian dollar Swiss franc. Australian dollar JPY looks like we're pretty good already on it, just using price. You can see last week I was looking for a bust above that zone. but we got a good flirt with it, and then now we're sinking. Right here, guys, is the yearly pivot. So let's zoom out. I want to show you the importance of these pivot levels. So during COVID, stretched all the way to S3, came back, and then we've stairs climbed all the way back up to the yearly pivot. Now, we haven't pushed above it, so we're kind of at our mean right now. So we're either going to, if we get a good trend line break on the daily, that's a good obvious target, or S1. So right now, big picture wise, this is still a bullish pair. However, we're starting to see some really good bearish move to, right at the yearly pivot. Now, price acts really weird around these pivots. So where this looks like, we keep bumping up against support. Well, you're too close to this pivot. Now, intraday, this is awesome. But position trading or swing trading, we're just too close to the equilibrium right here to get too crazy with one. So this one I'm going to keep red because I want to keep my eyes on it. This one was not red. It's orange. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. All right. Well, last week we hit a little bit of a short right in this zone. Or right at this mess. You can see we hit a short, good trade, came back. So now, guys, we can see a range forming right here on the daily. Okay? And it's right at R2. And we all know what I like to do at R2. I'm going to look for a pullback, and it'd be long if we get a pullback here. So now it's basically, are we going to break this zone right there? Or are we going to break high? So we kind of have it channeled in this little zone right here. That make or break zone's pretty big. And then as far as any sort of next level would be this pivot up here, which I'm just going to shrink up. So we got to, if we break above, we're going to shoot for that. If we break below, we got to look here. So we have a little bit more upside risk to reward. But we have the yearly pivots all the way down here. The next pivot level's right here. So we do have some decent distance between, if we bust through this, we're more than likely going to that yearly pivot. And if we bust above, which there's a lot of people really bullish on the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar pair. We broke above the pre-COVID levels, so it's to the moon. This one I am going to leave red because we are right next to that make or break zone. All right. So Australian dollar, US dollar. So we can't seem to get above this, which is below the 618 pivot. Actually below this, the quicker pivot. This what is this? R1. So we can't get above R1. We haven't made a strong enough break to this pivot. So if you were following a trend, it would be almost bullish here. If I had to trade this pair, I would say we're at a good place to take a buy trade to follow this trend back up at least to this pivot, right? I like where we have our bearish or bullish zone here. So if we do break below, that's our next target or the pivot. See how we're pretty close to the pivot? See how that just happens? If I turn these pivots off and drew these, they're pretty close to the pivots because price respects these pivots. See how we shot above that yearly pivot, and then the bears took over for a little bit, and then the price got cheaper, and then the bulls said, you know what, back to the pivot, and then some. All right, so this one I'm going to call orange. Canadian dollar, Swiss franc. Man, we're flirting down here with S3, which is, you know, good time to look for this run back to the pivot. However, down here below S3 is kind of like, you're in such a strong bearish trend. It's going to take a lot of bulls to get this thing popped up. So I'm not necessarily bearish till up here. I do think we're going to make a run to that, at least retest this pivot. So I'm going to move that there. I like where we have our bullish zone. And we are in an upward trend. You can see last Sunday off this dip, we were looking for that make or break zone. We shot up, came back, now we're shot up. So we kind of have price stuck in between those two levels. I don't want to leave that square on here. But you can see we have a pretty good make or break zone right there and right there. So on a smaller time frame, I'm going to see those two levels, and I'm more than happy to trade in between them. But once we break through them, I'll know I have to zoom out on the daily here and look for these two levels. If I had to trade this pair, I would wait for price to be at the bottom of that and look for that. But we're almost going to break through, so we have some. It's still, just for perspective, that's still 59 pips from the top of that make or break to that zone. And like I said, S2 or R2, S2, sorry, we're on the bottom side, is all the way up here. So we could easily get to that level. I'm going to turn this one orange. There's nothing crazy. Canadian dollar JPY. Let's see what we got here. So we're hovering S1. COVID shot it down here to S2. Then we had a basically awesome run back to the pivot. I mean, this is a really good example of these pivots are like magnets. So price got down here. We had a little bit of economic relief from COVID. Bam, to the pivot. Then everyone took their profit, right? And then some bears took over. And now we're kind of ranging in between S1 and the pivot. And lo and behold, the 200 period moving average is like right in the middle. So this one, there's really no direction. Anyone could win at this point. So this one's going to stay orange till we hit one of these zones. Canadian or Swiss franc JPY. All right, Swiss franc JPY. Well, we butted up against R3, and I'm going to move that right to R3. And which is the, strong bullish move. We topped out right there. It will not surprise me, guys, if this shoots back up and retests this area, at least R3. And then that will be enough for me to go, okay, if you find resistance there again in this massive bullish trend, this run to the pivot is likely. Now, this could all happen in this year, or it could happen next year. That's the problem with daily charts, right? You can put these positions on and wait a year. I do like this R2 as a really quick target if we make a break below this area, right? We're testing these lows. What do we usually see, guys, is a head and shoulders pattern. So don't be surprised if it gets as low as this and shoots back up, creates another shoulder. So yeah, I'm not necessarily bullish till that pivot right there. Sorry guys for coughing and sniffling. It's extremely early. I'm recording this really early this week because I have my kids and I want to get them to the pool and I have some stuff to get done before they wake up. So it's really early. I haven't even finished my coffee yet. Yeah. So I think this one's a little dangerous to get long right here. It feels like, hell yeah, we touched our, let's get short. I mean, it's really dangerous to get short right here. That's what I meant. But we're at a pretty decent inflection zone right there, and we're showing some support. We're at the bottom side of it right now. So one could probably make that argument right there. So we need to break this level before I get really crazy and go short down to that pivot, because it really, oftentimes if you go back and look at these charts, when you see this and everyone's going reversal, if you didn't predict this, you need to wait for that retest of the top. Okay. I'm going to leave that one red because we're at that bottom there. Euro AUD. Let's get a little perspective here. So you can see all my little intraday stuff on this pair. It's one of my favorite pairs to trade in the Sydney and Asian session, near the end of the Asian session as we go into the European or the London session, by the way. All right. So we've double bottomed on the yearly pivot, which happens to be right where I have my bullish area. Perfect. And we haven't broke above R1. So we are ranging between these two pivots. So we could trade off, a break down or a break up, or, if we bust through one of these two levels, let's shoot for the next pivot. But right now we're bearish and it should be red. And we had a trade of the week. One of our trades in our signal service was a short on one of these, and I'll have to go back and look if it really worked out. I'm still fumbling through the best way to do that signal service, because I know a lot of you guys, a lot of the people in it are working, and I'm doing my best to try to put, hey, if price gets to here, let's enter. But guys, price action is God in trading. So it's really hard to just go, like, for instance, it's really hard for me to go in a signal service, be like, yeah, right there is where we're going to short it. And we're going to go there for a profit. And let's go right above. I mean, this is not a bad trade. But what if it breaks short and we're going to miss this trade? Just putting this pending order in up here. It's the best place. I want to get that price. But what if I get really close and I'm focused on price action trading intraday and I don't see that? So I'm trying to find that mix of how do I get that long range, tell people to put those trades in early in the week, and then we're going to see how it works out, and then get them into my community channel where I fire off all those intraday U.S. session trades, and if they happen to be off work that day, they can jump in and try it out. But if you're interested in seeing all this action go down and get involved, I mean, I averaged about $3,000 a day in my intraday trading last week. Jump into the Journeyman channel. It's not just a signal service, guys. It's training, it's support, and it's signals. So enough about that. But so I'm gonna guess we need to be a more short bias. If we get back up into there, we're gonna take a short. Okay. Euro Swiss franc. What we got cooking here? Let's zoom out so we can see our pivots. Well, we got below S2. We shot up and we quickly came back and retested it. We should have got long here. And then now we kind of have This support, we're basically bouncing between this support and a little above S1. Like I said, guys, price gets really stupid around these pivots, right? It's a really good place for consolidation. So a safe trader, a safe position trader would wait for a breakout above or below. However, I see where we're at right now. We are testing the bottom again, the 200 EMA, and showing signs that we're respecting it. So that's the play back up. Euro British pound. Let's check out our pivots. So here's COVID, pre-COVID, right? March, right? COVID, we quickly came back to the yearly pivot, back to our mean, and now we've gradually creeped up, and now we're bounding in between, just like the other pair, R1 and R2, or R just above R1 and below. So the bears and the bulls are still battling it out on this one. You can see my intraday stuff here. Let's get rid of all this stuff. We're showing a good. We respected the zone again, so we still have some upside at least to that yearly pivot right there. So I like putting these arrows in just so we know that perspective as soon as we zero in on it. All right. Down here was COVID. Then we shot up to the pivot, overshot, back to the, and now we're stair-stepped up. So now you can see why I have my bullish zone. I could probably get a little tighter on that. See right there? Right there? I want to see a test of that, and I might get bullish. But if we break below, we're going back to that yearly pivot. If we bounce, we might go back up there. So this is really kind of a make or break zone, but they always all are. This one I'm going to leave orange because we got some time to get there. NZD, USD, or Euro NZD. Let's get a... Okay, we shot above R3, quickly came back, well, within a month, and we didn't quite get to the yearly pivot. So we found support midway between the pivot and R1 and have come back and tested R3. So I like where we have our bullish and bearish zones. We're kind of testing this mini support here. So this one be red, and I really like if we break down to that pivot. Otherwise, we need to wait for a push back up to here before we get crazy. So you could do intraday long to this, but if we break this pivot and then hopefully down, we could make a move all the way down to that by the end of the year. Need a lot to happen. So I think long term, I'd feel safer. There's decent downside. It'd be really cool to take it from up here. EUR USD. We're in consolidation phase for sure. And we butted up against R3. And you can see I'm looking for that. Take sells from the top. Take buys from here until we get a confirmation break. The pivot's really close to this, guys. So that usually tells me if we get here, we have a really good chance of getting a good push down to that pivot. So I'm not going to get really happily short until we break below that pivot. So I'm not going to take a sell trade on a break of this bullish zone until we get here. But I will take a buy out of here if we show in a price action back up to this. Which, just some perspective, is 200 pips, guys. This one is orange. Euro CAD. Euro Canadian dollar. So you can see this pretty good bullish cup pattern going on. Okay, so we haven't hit R3 yet. We came back to R2. We've in the middle of this pivot zone. We broke below R2 right now. So broke below those intradays. And now we broke below R2. I don't think you're going to find a lot of bulls till we get to that level. Everyone's going to wait to that. So this one should be red. And we should be short this pair all week down to here. If you want to just throw a trade on, let's just say based on what we see here, break of that level, maybe wait for a little bit of a pullback. 283 pips, and I'd go right above that pivot. An 85 pip risk for 238 pips reward. You know, a 2.79 risk to reward right there. That is not a bad trade. British pound AUD. All right, let's get a little bit of perspective here. Man, we have stalled out on S1. I'm going to move our bullish on there. We're consolidating right now. Let's get rid of that intraday trend line. And we're kind of testing this top. So you can see we've pushed a little. We've tested it. And now we're coming down. We're forming a little bit of a bullish cup here. If we do break above that level, the yearly pivot's right there. If we drop below this level, we're going to retest that S3. Is that S3 or S2? S1. Okay, S1. So we got a good look here. British pound CAD. We're bounding in between these two zones, or these two levels, I should say, which is right around the yearly pivot, guys. So we're kind of just right at the mean. British pound Swiss franc. We respected S2 kind of, and then now we're ranging by S1. Nothing too great there. British pound JPY just hit the yearly pivot and we've stalled out. So that would tell me we are at a pretty good inflection zone to make a break here, or we're going to go shooting above, which I want to put that right there. So we're kind of in the middle. British pound USD. Let's get rid of all this crap in here. Oh, no. There we go. I'm going to not be too bearish till we get to R1 there. We broke above the yearly pivot, but this would be really cool to see a run to that yearly S1 or R1. Sorry. All right, British pound NZD. We're bouncing off the 200 EMA to S1 here. So we're in an uptrend. We're at the bottom of this uptrend, so it's not a bad intraday long. I think if we're patient enough, we will get a test of that before we come back to the yearly pivot. NZD CAD. So we just barely tried to get above the yearly pivot, and now we're stalled out right there. So I think we got to be patient on that pair. NZD CHF. All right, guys, we tested S1, and now we're coming down, and we broke S2, and we're kind of in this downward channel. So on intraday, I'm trading that channel, but it looks like we might be kind of stalling out right here. So we got to be pretty patient, look for a breakdown or a bounce up. I love this S2 as the target. NZD JPY, not a lot. We're hovering right around S1 and the 200 EMA right now, so it's a long until we see otherwise. NZD USD, we've hit the yearly pivot and haven't really done much. USD C80, man, look, we've just stalled out at the yearly pivot. Did take some intraday trades on this last week, and I'll be honest, they were kind of hairy, and I gave back all the profit I made on Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, and I had to make it all back and then some Thursday and Friday, which was a little rough. But we're basically stalled out on the yearly pivot, so I'm going to put my bullish zone right there. Boom. USD CHF. Man, we're all the way down here in S3 land, meaning we are in a very strong bearish trend. We're starting to consolidate here, but man, it's dangerous down here. Really dangerous down here. So be careful. USD JPY. Man, we're just hovering right by S1. I'd love to see this pair come back up to its yearly pivot. So maybe off a double bottom or some sort of, really good move. We might see that. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up this week's Sunday setup videos. If you enjoyed this, please support the channel by hitting subscribe. If you got any questions or comments, throw them in the comments section below. I will be ramping up my presence here on YouTube. I promise. I got my first masterclass starting next week. I'm really excited for it. I'm starting to fill up the next class, which is probably going to be January 1st because December is a really bad time to be trading. Holidays, the markets slow down in December, but we will see. If you're interested, schedule a call with me. I'll put my Calendly link as well. I'm probably the only few guys you're going to find out in this Forex world that I will sit down and talk to you, and we can discuss if taking one of these courses is what's right for you or getting in the channel and just start to ease your way into Forex. All right, guys, have a great Sunday. Have a great week, and let's go make some money together this week. Come on, let's go. Let's do it. All right. It's over now.